Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I wanted to do a review of The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nghi. This is a new 2020 Tor.com novella that is absolutely stunning. It is so beautiful and so well told, really epic in its feel despite only being just over 100 pages. So let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about what it's about and why I loved it so much. Since this is a novella, I don't want to talk too much about what the plot line is, but basically the premise of the story is that there is a chronicler who is hearing the tale from an old handmaiden of an empress of the empress's life. So this empress was from a country to the north who was sent to the south to marry the emperor and bear him a son. Unfortunately, as soon as she bears him a son, she is exiled. She is not the type of person to be content with exile, though, so this story unfolds and tells us what happened in her life. There are so many aspects of this story that were really outstanding, starting with the world building. I think that this story, despite being so short, really reads like an epic fantasy because of the world building. It has such good fleshing out of the different communities and cultures in this story. In particular, the country to the north is very different from that to the south, and you get such a feel for the customs and the lifestyle and the clothing and the food and the games and the beliefs that are associated with each of these. It's just so well fleshed out. I also really loved the way that the mythology in this was treated. I believe that this is probably inspired by Vietnamese mythology, and it's just so prevalent in everything that happens in the story, from just ghosts being present to magical creatures like a bird that has a perfect recall memory, to even just things like fortune telling. This is, I think, maybe a low fantasy world, but I loved the way that the mythology was worked into it. I also think that just the story itself is so epic. That world building extends to the epicness of the plot line and the characters. So the plot itself is full of political intrigue and power struggles and grand epic themes. And the characters, even just characters you meet for maybe a paragraph, are so well fleshed out. I cared so deeply about all of the characters. I cried so many times when something tragic would happen to a character, even if I've only known them for a few sentences, because it's just that well built out, that gripping. I absolutely loved the world building and sort of epic story and characters. Another part of the story that I really liked was the queerness. This world had queerness built into it as a normal part of the world. And I just loved that integration and normalcy of it. For example, the chronicler is non-binary, and just that normal usage of they, them pronouns was beautiful to see. Also, same-sex relationships are a very normal part of this. We see lovers who are same-sex in this, and it just seems like a very normal part of the story. I loved that queerness was just an integral part of the story and wasn't necessarily the point of it. It was just part of that world building, and it really made me happy to see it. And perhaps my favorite aspect of this story was how feminist it was. This story focuses on extremely strong, confident, powerful women. Women who are not somebody who has life easy. They have definitely experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of loss, a lot of hardship, but they are strong in spirit. They have such fortitude, they have such determination, such willpower, and such anger. There's some wonderful lines in this about angry women and their strength. And I loved this storyline of an empress who was exiled, deciding to determine her own life and to really assert her power. And I just absolutely loved the storylines and how it developed her power, and so much of this was just epic and grand in its feminist storyline. I just really, really loved that part of it. So overall, I think that The Empress of Salt and Fortune is such a strong novella that in really just 100 pages packs in what I would expect of a 1,000-page epic fantasy. It's got the world building, it's got the epic political struggle, it's got the strong characters, the ones who you care about so much. Every person feels fleshed out, the culture and All of it is just so strong. This book really moved me. I absolutely loved reading it, and I hope that everybody else will pick it up too. If you have read this book, or if you have thoughts on it, or if you're interested in it, or if you have recommendations for me of other books that you think sound similar, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.